many four-letter words can I use on that?
Transfers to a double. Cheddar is driving. Nothing yet. Takedown. Michael Cheddar.
Oh, Nick, I'm a top guy, so I love top wrestling.
Hale trying to stick him. He does. Maximus Hale the fall.
So I think that wrestling is the greatest sport on earth.
What's going on, everybody? It's a solo episode of On3 Wrestling this time around, but we're going to get into season predictions for the 2024-25 college wrestling season. I figured give you a little rapid fire here, going weight by weight. And spoiler alert, I'm still picking Penn State to win the team national title at the NCAA tournament, so we can get that right out of the way. So let's dive right into it. We're not going to waste any time right here. But, of course, make sure to like and subscribe to this video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. And, of course, follow all of our content at on3.com for further college sports content. So let's go into 125. And right now I'm looking at the Intermat rankings. So if you're worrying about where these guys are ranked, I'm going to go by Intermat today. So Richie Figueroa, who was your champ last year, he comes out number 1 to start the season according to the preseason rankings. And 125 could be just as random as last year. So right now, I think I have to lean Richie Figueroa to repeat as champion this year. The guy, I would say he maybe takes on the finals. I could see Matt Ramos making another run. You know, there was a lot of chaos at 125 last year. I believe there were around anywhere between 6 or 8 different guys last year that were ranked number 1 at one point. And as soon as they were ranked number 1, they got knocked off. And the same goes for guys that were ranked pretty much number 2 or number 3. This was a total crapshoot last year. But my early leaning right now is going to be Richie Figs at Arizona State. I would say, you know, maybe you look at the other finalist candidates as, Jory Volk from Wyoming or Matt Ramos of Purdue. But right now I'm going to lean Richie Figs to repeat as NCAA champion at 125. Really interested to see how Arizona State does in the Big 12 this year as well, since the schools moved conferences last offseason. So move into 133, another weight class that could be just as random as 125 was last year. Some interesting movement as well. Drake Ayala from Iowa is going up to 133, as is Braden Davis from Penn State. Ayala, an NCAA finalist last year. Davis was last year's Big Ten champion for Penn State at 125. He moves up. So this one's going to be very interesting to watch with new guys in the weight class. Ryan Crookham is the preseason number 1 from Lehigh. He is the favorite right now. A lot of people love Nasir Bailey from Little Rock. He's currently ranked number 2. So I'm interested to see how he deals with the additional expectations this coming season. Of course, he was an All-American last year, one of 2 All-Americans for Little Rock, Arkansas. Great job by Neil Arisman. I remember talking to him right after the NCAA tournament. This guy was glowing after just year 5 in the program and the progress that they have made. They could have multiple All-Americans once again and some guys that are going to be in contention for a national title like Nasir Bailey at 133. Lucas Bird is back this year after taking a year off. He's ranked number 3 for Illinois to start the year. There's some other guys that I want to throw out there. Evan Frost from Iowa State. He's ranked number 5. Dylan Shulver from Rutgers. He's number 6. He's an All-American from last year as well. Anthony Noto, remember him? You know, Anthony Noto was amazing the last couple of years. He's ranked number 8. He'll be at 133 this year as well. And who else is that on this list that maybe we should be looking out for? Nick Bouzakis down at 14 right now. Braxton Brown, those guys from Ohio State and Maryland that are 14 and 15th respectively. So this weight class goes very deep. And some other guys are making the bump up in terms of their weight class. Brett Unger, I believe he was just at 125 last year as well from Cornell. He's listed at 133 right now. So this weight class is very deep. The favorite right now, it's got to be Crookham. I'm leaning towards Nasir Bailey having a breakout year. My other dark horses for this national title this year, and call me a Rutgers homer all you want. The way I saw Dylan Shulver progress from year to year, I really think this is a guy who's a man on the mission this year. That Rutgers wrestling room is much deeper at those lower weights than it was last year, which is kind of hard to believe already. So I would say I would favor a guy like Nasir Bailey to win. He's probably my current pick right now over a guy like Ryan Crookham, but I can't really rule out a guy like Dylan Shulver as well. And I can't forget about Dylan Ragusin. I almost forgot to mention him. He's number 4 in the country right now from Michigan. So you want to talk about that Shulver-Ragusin rivalry right now. I think Ragusin had a 3-1 advantage last year. Shulver getting the win of the Big Ten Finals. But those guys are on my short list to win the national title. I'll lean towards Little Rock's Nasir Bailey right now, but Crookham, Ragusin, Shawver, they're on my short list right now. I want to wait and see with Lucas Bird right now, just because of the year off. And then if he comes out guns a-blazing, then he's going to be in the mix as well by the end of the year. So we'll go to 141. Andrew Ramirez is back. This weight class is fascinating because Andrew Ramirez took the Olympic red shirt last season. He's a national champ from 2022. And of course, you have, I beg your pardon, 2023. They have Jesse Mendez and Bo Bartlett, who met 3 times last year. They were 2-1 in favor of Mendez. Mendez won the Big Ten title as well as the national title. Those are your top 3 guys: Ramirez, Mendez, and Bartlett down the list, according to Intermat. I would lean towards Alira just because of the skill level there, and I don't think a year off taking the Olympic red shirt, again, he was still training, he was trying to make an Olympic run. I don't think that is going to affect him as much as some guys that would come back either with weight changes or they took mid-career red shirts or they had injuries. I think Alira should be the favorite here based on his history, and I don't think he really lost a step taking an Olympic red shirt. Mendez is a dog, though. Again, I thought he would get picked off by Bartlett in a big spot. When it came to the NCAA finals, I think I was leaning more towards Mendez last year in the NCAA finals, but I still thought Bartlett was going to, have that Penn State magic and beat Mendez in the NCAA finals. But Mendez, I mean, I would not be shocked if he just runs through this weight class and you see a Mendez-Alirez final, and all of a sudden Mendez is at the top of the podium once again. So those 3 guys are the short list right now. I do favor Alirez. He is my current preseason pick to win a second national title, or you maybe see Mendez win a second national title back-to-back this time. I'm going to lean Alirez right now. So those are the top 3 guys in this weight class. Brock Hardy is going to be in the mix as well from Nebraska. Vance Von Bauer, from Minnesota, actually ranked top 5 this year by Intermat. He is due for a gigantic year for the Golden Gophers. Some other guys. How about Chris Cannon coming back? So he's listed at 141 this year. Out pretty much all last season for Michigan. Wrestled 1 match. He transfers back to Northwestern. I'm interested to see if he has one last run in him for the Northwestern Wildcats. But right now, Andrew Alirez, Northern Colorado, is my current national champion pick for the end of the year. Let's go to 149. Caleb Henson, a popular pick to repeat this year. He pretty much shocked everybody when he beat Austin. I wouldn't say shocked everybody, but when you face a high flyer like Austin Gomez in the NCAA finals last year, people think, well, Gomez is going to take advantage of those positions. But again, it's high risk, high reward. And unfortunately for Gomez, it was high risk, and Caleb Henson took advantage and won a shootout of a NCAA final last year. Got his first national title. Virginia Tech is rolling with hammers across the board. He's the favorite right now. Shane Van Ness from Penn State returns this year. He's currently the preseason number 2. He was out with injury last year, which gave way for Tyler Kasak, who moved up in weight this year for the Nittany Lions. But Van Ness is going to be in the mix. He had a tremendous run. And I'm going to tip my cap to Willie Saylor for this, for a little tidbit. He was pretty good, Van Ness, when he was a starter a couple of years ago, but his NCAA tournament run is what really made people pay attention to him a little bit more, and he ended up finishing 3rd that year by picking off a bunch of guys. So, but he's preseason ranked number 2 for good reason. He's an excellent wrestler. He's going to be in the mix, but I do favor Henson to repeat as champion. So he'd be my pick right now. Ty Waters, fascinating guy, was a freshman last year. Tremendous for Virginia Tech. He comes in at number 3 in the country. Kyle Parko goes from Arizona State to Iowa, so he's going to be in the mix as well at 149. He's ranked number 4. And we can't forget about Ridge Lovett, who was in the finals a couple of years ago, was knocked off in the semis last year, but he's number 5, and Nebraska's got a great dude in Ridge Lovett as a senior this year. Who else is on this list right here? Lachlan McNeil from North Carolina, Anthony Echemendia from Iowa State. These guys are going to be in the mix as well. Chance Lamer over Cal Poly. I'm interested to see how he acclimates here. And, he's a preseason top 8 guy, so he'll be in the podium mix. But I do have to favor Caleb Henson right now. If I had to pick a final, maybe you go Henson Van Ness. Maybe you go Henson Parko or against Waters. Lovett can make a run. So a lot of guys can make a run, but I think Henson is just a step above everybody else as it stands right now. So I will pick the preseason number 1, Caleb Henson, to win the title. 157, very interesting weight here because Ja'Cory Teamer is the number 1 guy in the country right now. He's another guy that went from Arizona State over to Iowa to solidify the middle of that lineup. And Teamer made the finals last year. Levi Haynes just controlled that match. Teamer was in it. Okay, he has a chance. ran into Levi Haynes, ran into a buzzsaw last year. So when it comes to this season for Ja'Cory Teamer, yes, he's the favorite just because he's ranked number 1, but this way can go any number of ways. Meyer Shapiro, he's at number 2, only a sophomore, broke out as a freshman at Cornell last year, and he was the top recruit for a reason. He was a blue chip guy for a reason. I'm leaning towards him right now. You have Peyton Keller of Ohio, the Ohio Bobcats. That's not the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Ohio Bobcats. Peyton Keller is number 3 right now. Antrell Taylor, another guy to watch out for, 157 for Nebraska. Tyler Kasak, as I mentioned before, from Penn State, was at 149, was not expected to be in the lineup, and then he made a great run last year. And then, of course, now he's up at 57 among the weight changes for Penn State for this coming season. So those top 5 guys are in the running. Not to say anybody else isn't. The guys like Ed Scott from NC State and Ryder Downey from Northern Iowa. Those to me are the guys that are going to be on the short list. Guy to watch out for, maybe a dark horse, Teague Travis from Oklahoma State. Again, you can't really discount what David Taylor is going to do as head coach this year. I know he hasn't coached yet, but I really think he's going to have that big of an impact. But right now, I think I would lean towards Meyer Shapiro to get that national title for Cornell. Probably being a guy like Ja'Cory Teamer in the finals. I'm still waiting for Iowa to kind of re-break out in terms of a landmark performance at the NCAA tournament. So I'll lean towards Shapiro right now to win the title at 157. Halfway there, so we're going to go to 165. Mitchell Messenbrink is at the top right now. He's got to be the favorite. Mikey Caliendo from Iowa is your number 2. Hunter Garvin, a sleeper right now. I know he's ranked number 3, but I think a lot of people are sleeping on Hunter Garvin from Stanford. Peyton Hall from West Virginia is in there. Julian Ramirez, who for some reason just can't get over the hump right now, but he is number 5 in the country. And of course, Cam Amin in his new spot going from Michigan to Oklahoma State for his final year. Terrell Barracall, by the way, over at Utah Valley, for the former Penn State wrestler, was never a steady starter, but he was always a popular guy in the wrestling room, in the locker room, and always came up big. He moved up a couple weight classes last year, kind of went all over the place, and knocked off some really talented guys. So he's ranked number 7 at the start of the season. 165, goes back home, or at least closer to home, is going to wrestle for Adam Hall at Utah Valley. I think he's going to make a big impact right away. I would say at minimum he is going to be an All-American this year. Not sure about national title contender, but you never know how March ends up, and that bracket can always get wild. But I think Messenbrink is I'm not going to say the easy pick right here, but after last year, coming up short to David Carr in a loaded weight class that featured Carr and Keegan O'Toole, Messenbrink came out of the fire. Of course, Carr beat his rival in O'Toole, but Messenbrink to me is the big favorite in this weight class this year. I would say he probably takes on a guy like Caliendo at the end of the year, but I'm not really sure. It's hard for me to pick who's going to be in the finals with him, but it's hard for me to pick against Mitchell Messenbrink regardless. So I will lean with the Nittany Lion right here at 165 to win the national title in March in Philadelphia. 174, Keegan O'Toole, as I just mentioned him before, he moves up. This is his final season. He's at 174 this year. And another guy who moved up, Levi Haynes, national champ last year at 157, going up 2 weight classes, okay? So that is the expected final, right? O'Toole, Levi Haynes. And Levi Haynes has been a dog. We know how good he is. He was so good as a freshman. He was so good last year, and he's going to be so good as a junior, okay? Moving up 2 weight classes. Now, again, a lot of people think, well, that's a big jump. Just based on what I've listened to, what I've read, and how Penn State operates, I don't think it's going to be that big of a jump necessarily in terms of he's not going to be overwhelmed, I would say. Especially if he just went up 1 weight class to 165, it'd be no contest to me. I would pick Levi Haynes over the entire field at 165. That's what I would do personally. At 174, because he has a 2-time national champion, Keegan O'Toole at the top right now, just above him, I am going to lean O'Toole. I picked O'Toole last year. I thought he eventually was going to have David, or he had David Carr's number at that point, and then everyone remembers that NCAA semifinal from last year. Boy, was that fun. David Carr, one of the stories of the tournament last year in Kansas City. But I will lean Keegan O'Toole in the finals this year. I'll pick him to win the national title, go out with a bang, win his 3rd national title. Haynes probably going to be his opponent in the finals, I would say, at 174. Rocco Welsh came on as a freshman last year for Ohio State, made the finals, lost to Carter Sriracha. We'll get to him in a second. Cade DeVos from South Dakota State is going to be in the running. Lennox Wallach, I'm interested to see when he changed locations, okay, goes from Columbia, transfers to Virginia Tech. He's ranked number 5 to start the season. He might be in the running as well. Dean Hamady up a weight class this year for Oklahoma State. He was at Wisconsin the last 3 years at 165, missed out on the podium last year, transfers, will wrestle for the Cowboys and David Taylor this year. He's going to be a fascinating watch. Lenny Pinto is down to 174 this year for Nebraska. Gabe Arnold. Now, I know there was reports coming out, or I think it was reported the other day that Iowa was going to start out with Gabe Arnold at 184 and Nelson Brand's going to go 174, but Gabe Arnold is the preseason number 8 guy at 174. Now, mind you, these rankings were updated about a week or two ago from Intermat, but I'm interested to see how the Iowa situation plays out. So I'm not going to make a bold prediction on Gabe Arnold right now. And again, the further down you go, you look at the guys that are going to be in contention for the podium spots. A guy like Nick Incontrera, by the way, from UPenn, awesome wrestler. He's ranked number 9 right now. So he's right on the cusp right there. My guy, Jackson Turley, by the way, from Rutgers. He is a man reborn, it seems like, with his health. Said he had a procedure done on his back, a little stem cell treatment. Feels young again. He could be a high flyer to really climb that podium, to get back on the podium for the first time since 2021. So I'll be watching out for him as well. But again, I have to go Keegan O'Toole right now. As it stands right now in the preseason, he is the best guy in the weight class. He's the most accomplished. I'll have him right now over Levi Haynes. Please, you're with us here on On3 Wrestling, by the way. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe to this video. Follow us all on all social channels. Of course, follow me on Twitter as well. So 184, the big one, Carter Starachi moving up, going for his 5th national championship. Again, this is likely the only time we're ever going to see this. So he goes up a weight class this year. I know there were a lot of rumors that he was going to go 197, right? But he's going to go up to 184. It's hard to pick against him. I know the defending champion is in there, Parker Keckeisen, who was, in my mind, probably the most impressive wrestler in terms of all his results last year. Goes undefeated. And I believe he had I'm pretty sure every decision was a major or better. If memory serves correctly, he was like 30-0 or something along those lines. I'm pretty sure every single one of his matches was bonus at minimum. Okay. And if it wasn't, he might have had one match where it was a regular decision. Now, the easy pick is Carter Starachi. It's hard to pick against him. I don't know how you pick against him, who's a guy who's already a 4-time champion. He goes up and he's going to be going for his 5th title, but he does have a defending champion in his weight class who, to me, is one of the best guys pound for pound in the country, and he's only number 2 in his own weight class. Dustin Plott, another guy to watch out for Oklahoma State. He's number 3. Bennett Berge from South Dakota State, number 4. How about TJ Stewart? He's awesome. Virginia Tech. It was a great freshman last year. He's already number 5. Nelson Brands was, again, listed at 184 in the preseason rankings. He could be going down, and Gabe Arnold could be going up. So unsure of where those guys are going to fit in their weight classes. So not going to make total predictions on the Iowa guys yet. Silas Allred is down to 184. That should be interesting for Nebraska. Edmund Ruth from Illinois, last year's Big Ten champion. I know it was a little wonky just because Shane Griffith got hurt last year for Michigan, but he was a Big Ten champion last year at 174. He's up to 84 this year. Jackson Smith from Maryland, really, really good wrestler. He's down from 197 this year. He's in the top 10. Chris Folk is up at 84 this year from Cornell. He's at number 11. Dylan Fishback, can't forget about him from NC State within the top 10. One other guy I want to point out that I think is going to make a big run before I get to my pick, which, again, my pick is going to come down between Carter Starachi and Parker Keckeisen. Max McAnally from Minnesota. Saw him last year he was in red shirt last year, wrestled at Rutgers, got the win, and this guy was a physical freak. Okay, physical freak, and his record, I'm like, wow, this guy's dominating, and he's not even in the starting lineup. He's going to be a guy to watch out for. Watch out for Max McAnally from Minnesota, ranked number 12 right now to start the preseason, or just to start the season, I should say. He's gonna climb fast. Okay, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Would not be shocked if he's really high up on the podium by the season's end. But right now, and I hate to go with it's almost like an easy pick. I have to lean Starachi right now just based on the way he's been wrestling. But I think the All-Star Classic is going to tell us a lot when you see Starachi and Keckeisen wrestle. I think this is going to be one of the best matches you will see by the time we get to Philadelphia and you see the NCAA final of Carter Starachi, Parker Keckeisen. Going to be one of the closest and most detailed in terms of technique and just flawless technique from both guys. And I think that's where Keckeisen really doesn't stun people, but I think people forget how good he is technically. And so is Starachi. Okay, I've always said I've loved watching Starachi wrestle. His aggressiveness and like just the fine-tuned details on his technique is just above everybody else. And Keckeisen does the same thing. It is at this weight class as well. But right now, I'm going to slightly lean Carter Starachi over Parker Kekaizen at 184. All right, almost done here. 197. AJ Ferrari is back on the wrestling mat after this first time, almost 3 years at this point. He's at CSU Bakersfield now. He's the preseason number 1. Stephen Buchanan goes from Oklahoma to Iowa. He's number 2. Jacob Cardenas, grad year at Michigan after having a great career at Cornell. He's number 3. Rocky Elam, can't forget about him, Missouri. So this is a veteran heavy weight class. I mentioned Little Rock before. Stephen Little. Watch out for Stephen Little at Little Rock. He's a freshman last year, All-American. He is going to be a force as well. Michael Beard of Lehigh, also a senior. Trey Munoz of Oregon State, another senior. Isaiah Salazar, 97 this year from Minnesota instead of 84. He's also a senior. And then Zach Glazier, I know we talk about Iowa guys. He transferred to South Dakota State. He's number 9 to start the season as well. Other guys that are on the outside looking in terms of the podium chase right now based on the rankings. I mentioned Glazer, Zach Bronigal from Illinois, Luke Giag, Ohio State, John Poznansky from Rutgers. Those guys are on the round of 12 area right now based on Intermatch rankings. But I think that this podium, again, you see a lot of veterans. And I think you're going to see a big shakeup when it comes to, guys like Poznansky, Giag, Glazier. They can make deeper runs on the podium. Poznansky, just from the Rutgers perspective, from my vantage point, was, one takedown away from knocking off Stephen Buchanan last year in an overtime match, and Buchanan ended up finishing 3rd. So it's those little things right there. So a guy like Poznansky can make a big run and maybe finish on the top half of the podium. Same thing goes for Luke Giag, who was a standout freshman for Ohio State. Now with another year of development, he could be a force as well. Right now, I gotta lean Ferrari. I have a feeling about Jacob Cardenas, though, for some reason. I think it's the Michigan effect. Okay, he was great at Cornell, but I think in that room at Michigan, I talked to Sean Bourmet earlier this summer. I mean, they just almost, it's almost like they just breed dudes at that in that wrestling right at Cliff Keen. Okay, you have all the Olympic success right there. Alex Deeringer's still gonna be around the program. This team might not be as quote unquote stacked as last year, but Cardenas is just, I think that room is going to give him another step forward. I think he's NCAA finals bound. I know there's a lot of questions about Ferrari in terms of, the layoff, the drama off the mat, the social media stuff, whatever you want to call it. On the mat, he to me is still the best wrestler. I just have to see it first. So I want to go Ferrari and Cardenas in a final. It's hard. I don't know. Maybe I will pick. I'm going to pick Cardenas. Right now, I'll pick Cardenas. Cardenas is my pick right now from Michigan. Cardenas over Ferrari. Would not be shocked if Ferrari doesn't miss a step or takes him a little bit. Okay, I want to see it first because he hasn't been on the mat. And again, he's at a new spot over on the West Coast at CSU Bakersfield. Right now, I'll lean Cardenas to win the title over Ferrari. Ferrari is my next guy in line right there to win his 2nd national title. But right now, I will go Jacob Cardenas. Final weight class, heavyweight, Greg Kirkvliet, the defending champion. Wyatt Hendrickson goes from Air Force to Oklahoma State. Nick Feldman's going to be in the running as well from Ohio State, only a sophomore. Colton Schultz from Arizona State, still around, by the way. I feel like he's been around forever, right? Yaroslav Slavakuski, another guy who's been around for a while. He's coming back for his 2nd grad year at Rutgers. This is his last hurrah. Those are your top 5 guys. It's hard to pick against Kirkvliet. The Penn State senior, he's going to me. I really can't pick anybody else. I'll go with Kirkvliet. I think Hendrickson is going to actually take a step forward under David Taylor at Oklahoma State, and that match will be ultimately really close. I got Kirkvliet and Hendrickson in the finals, but I'm going to go Greg. I'm going to go Big Greg. Got to pick Greg in the finals right here for Penn State to get the national champion. And then I would say a guy who could, out of the guys who could make the finals, opposite Kirkvliet. Again, it's all going to depend upon the rankings and how you do things. But I would say Feldman, Schultz, Slavakuski, and Bastida. Don't forget about younger Bastida, okay? He went up to heavyweight last year, was a force all year, lost to Yara in the wrestleback round, and that's where Rutgers heavyweight Yaroslav Slavakuski ended up finishing 7th last year. But Yara beat Younger head-to-head in the wrestlebacks last year after Younger was upset. He was the number 2 seed, I believe, last year. So, to me, those next 4 guys after Kirkvliet and Hendrickson, those to me are the 4 guys that could knock off a guy like maybe, I don't think Kirkvliet's going to lose. So a guy like Hendrickson, who I think is also a step, you have the tiers. Kirkvliet, Hendrickson, the next 4 guys. Those next 4 guys could knock off a guy like Hendrickson. But is Hendrickson going to get knocked off? Could he win all year and only lose to Kirkvliet in the finals? That seems to be the most likely scenario. I'll go Kirkvliet over Hendrickson right now. But Feldman, Schultz, Slavakuski, and Bastida to me are the 4 guys that could make a run at the finals to wrestle Kirk Vliet in the finals, but I cannot pay against Big Greg getting his second straight national title. So picks are in. Just to recap real quick, I got Richie Figs at 125. I'm going to go Nasir Bailey at 133. Alirez at 41. Henson at 49. Shapiro at 57. Messenbrink at 65. O'Toole at 74. Starachi at 84. I'll go Cardenas at 97 and Kirk Vliet at 285 pounds. So preseason picks are in the book. Write them down. Be sure to Freezing Cold Takes Me by the end of the year. I'm sure this video is going to live in infamy. Again, like and subscribe to the video. Appreciate your support of the podcast and, of course, all our content at on3.com. Follow me on Twitter. Okay, we'll see you next time on On3 Wrestling.